Okay, so I'm here with John Abbott. John's been a friend of mine since high school, and he's agreed to do an interview to demonstrate, what I'm looking for with this interview. So I'll start with the kind of the script that I want students to use here is, thanks for being willing to do the interview. This interview is a part of a class project in which we're learning to understand how to gain insights from customer interviews. We're all interviewing entrepreneurs, recording the interviews, and using those interviews to gain insights into what would help entrepreneurs when they don't know what to do. The interview will be 20 to 40 minutes. So is it okay if I record the interview?
You bet.
Okay, so can you give me your name and your business name?
Sure. My name is Jonathan Abbott, John Abbott, and my company is Abbott Pest Control.
When did you start your business?
2009.
And how many employees do you have?
I've got one right now.
Okay. Can you give me an example of some of the things, either little details or big picture issues that you needed to figure out as you started out as an entrepreneur? And how did you figure those things out?
The first thing that I ran into was, I guess once I selected what I wanted to do, I needed to know how to set up a business, and I didn't have any experience doing that. So I had a friend that was a CPA. He had a lot of experience setting that sort of thing up. And so I just talked to him, and he got me pointed in the right direction. Nevada actually makes it pretty easy to set up a business.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't too hard.
And how did you, so you did you have an idea that you wanted to start a business, and then you just weren't sure what type of business, or how did that work?
Well, I already had a different business at this time, but it was right in the middle of the Great Recession there, 2008. And so I was looking for a business that I could still manage my time with, and do both things. And so I had an interest in pest control when I was younger. And so I looked into it again because I knew it was something that would allow me to manage my time with both businesses.
How did you figure out that pest control would be a good idea?
I knew a couple of people that own pest control companies, and I went and talked to them about how they ran their business and what they liked about it, what they didn't, and I got a lot of great feedback. And surprisingly, they were very open about answering my questions and very encouraging in helping me get into the business.
So do you think you would have done it if you hadn't known them?
Yeah, but it probably wouldn't have been as easy. I pretty much picked this as the direction I wanted to go.
Okay. What kind of things did they, can you give me some examples of
so
help you with, or help you understand?
Sure. Well, one of them basically just told me how he ran his business, the methods that he used, the equipment that he used. Another one took me out and let me shadow him so that I could see how they did the business. And the suppliers of the products, there's a company, and they were a great resource that I got turned on to through these business owners, and I could find out a lot about the different pesticides from the manufacturers at that point, or the sale of those products.
And how did you know these people?
One of them was a friend from high school. One was the mom of one of my friends. She had owned the business for 20 years. And then there were a couple others, like one was a friend of my brother. So just asking, really, word of mouth. There was a couple guys that were neighbors of mine that had one, and so I could talk to them about it as well.
And they were just, it seems like they're pretty open.
Yeah, I was surprised, and I'd always been taught that I was a little concerned that they'd want to safeguard what they had, but usually if you're willing to hand off information to other people, you're comfortable with your system, you're comfortable with what you do, and you're not living in fear, even though it's a very competitive market. these people were very comfortable with their businesses and what they were already doing, and they didn't feel inhibited at all in sharing their information with me.
So you said that you had been taught that. Are you talking about like your dad telling you that I think it would be common for some people to think, oh, I could never ask someone about their business if I'm going to be a competitor to them. Like that might not even occur to some people that they could do that. Where, like, why?
Well, yeah, and funny you bring up my dad, because him, Hans, and he could ask anybody anything, and so well, I guess a little bit of that rubbed off. He wasn't concerned asking the hard questions, and so maybe just naively I would ask questions that you typically wouldn't, but
after you got started, do you have can you talk about any specific problems that you faced, and like how did you turn to other people for help, or like where did you benefit from talking to people?
Yeah, well, starting a business from scratch and one that you need a client base for, I literally just started going door to door and building a residential base for my business. But my very first client, and I still have him as a client today, was the lady that sold me my Yellow Pages ad. I don't know if people don't use Yellow Pages anymore, but she sold me my Yellow Page ad because I was going to advertise in. And from that ad, I ended up picking up commercial properties, and I got into the apartments, which in the pest control game isn't really a profitable business unless you're doing it in mass. And what it did for me, though, even though it wasn't making me a lot of money, was it gave me a lot of experience with more of the difficult cases with pest control. You run into a lot of bed bugs, German cockroach infestations, things that you wouldn't necessarily find in a single family home. You'd find in apartment complexes. So it was helpful to have an ad that brought on the commercial aspect. I hadn't even thought about getting into the commercial side of it until the call started coming in that way. But as far as building up the residential, it was a door-to-door effort.
Interesting.
I even brought my kid with me, and I tried different kids out to see which one the people liked more. They'd sign up. I had one with really bright red curly hair, and I mean, people would sign up like crazy. Just I guess I like the kid.
That's funny. So you talked to these people, and then did you stay in touch with them as they, as you went on, or have you had any other like role models or mentors that you benefited from?
Yeah. Some of these were friends of mine, and so I'd stay in touch with them, and I mean, we wouldn't necessarily talk shop, but I'd stay in contact with them. Others I would ask, as I found my methodology and the way I did things, I would check it against theirs to see if maybe they had a better way. But after I'd been in business about 10 years, I actually paid a consultant from another state to share with me his way of running a business. And it was taking it from a smaller business to a larger business. And I'm still kind of in that medium stage of growth, but
and how did you find him?
He was a friend of my brother's. My brother being a salesman, it's kind of a network thing. A lot of salesmen, and this was a salesman who had built a pest control company, and it was the largest privately owned company in the state that he lived in, and so he wasn't going to give his information away for free, but I paid him for it and changed my business model to match his at that point. And really it made a big difference in the quality of my service, in my revenue, and really just improved my business altogether. So it was money well spent.
So what do you think you gain? I mean, like, can you give an example of, like, was it kind of high level things that you learned from him, or was it like real specific details? What was the impact there?
It was simple things, I guess, but really mostly about the price I was charging was way under, and the type of clientele I was attracting was a lot of, I don't know, when you increase your price to a certain point and provide a higher level of service, you attract a better client, and that made a big difference. I was spending a lot of time going back to service these places that didn't have enough profit in them to make money, and so it got rid of those clients. They kind of weeded themselves out as I changed my system. I did also change the way I applied the pesticide. I went to a power sprayer as opposed to just kind of a handheld pressurized sprayer, and that application method made a difference too in the product I was providing.
Do you, I mean, some of the things that entrepreneurs need are kind of the day-to-day, logistics or how to get things done. And then some of it is related to be, seeing the big picture, motivation. There are some people that go to kind of high level trainings or that are applied. It's not just pest control, but it's applied to any type of business. Have you sought out that kind of help from people, just like non-pest control type business stuff?
Yeah, I've read books, entrepreneur books that kind of help keep me motivated or keep me on track. But I've also talked to other people that own different businesses. I have a couple of close friends that they own their own businesses. They're in the dentist and orthodontics business, and they are just fantastic entrepreneurs. And so it's nice to just go to lunch with them, bounce ideas off of them, and see how they do things. There was one of them that he actually had kind of a business consultant that directed his business, and he would share that information that he was paying his guy for free to me, and so it was helpful to get those tips.
Yeah. I mean, I think that one thing that you do pretty well is that you have a lot of relationships with people in a lot of different ways. It doesn't feel transactional. So I think that makes it easier for information to be shared,
Yeah. Being genuine, I mean, you're going to attract, if you're business minded or entrepreneur minded and you're talking to people, you're going to find people that are like-minded.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I think that there's sometimes you can feel like people are very instrumental about a relationship. They only want something out of it versus, somebody that wants to have a relationship, kind of a genuine relationship. So entrepreneurs make a lot of mistakes. Can you share a couple that stand out for you?
Sure. Yeah. My biggest mistakes are in marketing. Everybody's got their way, whether it's Angie's List or Yelp or Google or, I mean, an infinite number of ways that you could advertise your business or try to grow your business. And you can spend a lot of money. I bought advertisement on the benches on golf courses once, or paid for a really small market magazine ad, and I mean, you've got to go through trial and error, I guess, to see what works and what doesn't. But there's a lot of stuff that doesn't work.
Sure.
And you spend money doing that, and I did. I mean, there's certain things that I just won't do again. And then there's some things that are good, but they're not the best, and so I try to just, I don't know, focus on, based off of what marketing budget I have, put the money where it makes the most sense.
Do you think that is there anything that you could have done to avoid that? I mean, I know sometimes it's trial and error, but are there some mistakes that you could have avoided if you had better advice or talked to the right person?
Yes, but I don't know. You'd really have to talk to a wide range of people, I think, because businesses are so different. What really works for one might not work for another. Like I've got a friend who he's got a junk business, and paying for leads is really worth his while. But they're just one and done jobs. Pest control isn't like that. You want a reoccurring service where you're providing a regular service. And so when you pay the high price for those leads, they don't pencil out for me.
Sure.
So I could talk to him and get the feedback that what's working for him is a great idea, and I could try it, and it wouldn't be for me. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I could talk to a lot of people that have similar services and see what works for them. But there is a learning curve. You just got to try things, and that costs money sometimes.
Yeah. So other than the I guess the marketing choices, is there anything that you would have done different that you wish you could have done different if you could go back?
Oh boy, I don't know. I mean, I know I'm sure I made a lot of mistakes along the way, but I've been pleased with the growth. It's been slow and steady, and I don't know. I don't have one major regret with how I started my business. I like how it's grown, so I don't know.
You started, like you weren't real young when you started with this business. Maybe things would be different. You had some other experience.
Yeah.
What do you think would be advice that you would give to aspiring entrepreneurs that want to figure things out and avoid, making costly mistakes that are avoidable costly mistakes?
I would say know where your strengths are and hire out the things that you're not good at unless you want to be proficient at them. Like there's nothing wrong with not knowing how to do something and then learning how to do it and making it part of what you do. But if you're not good at it and you have no interest in it, then have somebody who is good at it and has an interest in it do that. Whether you hire them or pay them for their service, they don't. There's so many aspects to a business that if you tried to wear all the hats all the time, I don't think you'd be successful at it. So I guess it's knowing what you're good at, being a professional at what you do, knowing your business of what you do well, and then hiring out what you don't.
And how did you learn that lesson?
By trying to do things that the sales arm of my business. I mean, I'm going to appeal to a certain percentage of people, but I'm not the salesman type. And so as I tried to do that and failed at it or just really didn't enjoy doing it, I knew that I've got to hire somebody to do that part of it. I like running a business. I like managing employees. I like dealing with clients and solving problems. It's in my nature to solve problems. And so I focused on those things, and the other aspects I have somebody else do.
Oh, okay, good. Well, I think that's about what we wanted to discuss. Thanks for taking the time for the interview. I think it'll help students to understand, the needs of entrepreneurs better and how to how to do interviews and gain insights. So I'll stop recording.
Yeah.